One of the biggest gaps I see is in the way that analytics is often taught. There is a disconnect between the skills that are learned and actually applying those skills on the job. And that matters a lot more than people, I think, tend to realize sometimes. And the reason being is because data is an ever-changing landscape. The tools change, things that are expected changes, and the problems that we're solving absolutely change. That's why we're here. We're problem solvers. I still very much so work in this field intentionally, providing updates, adhering to deliverables, solving problems. And I do this not to just say I do it, but I do it because it keeps my skills sharp. And in a space like data, keeping your skills sharp is a non-negotiable. If you don't use your skills, you lose them. It's an ever-changing field. We're always learning. We're always growing. And that real world experience directly impacts the way that I teach. And it's not just me. Each of my practitioners within the space of data analytics simplified is an active data practitioner. Collectively, we have over 30 years of experience within the space of data. And to me, that is a non-negotiable, because when you teach from a real space, you teach from the space of application and how things show up in the real world. When you have real world experience, you don't teach from a place of theory or memorization. And application holds a lot more weight than theory and memorization. And what I mean by teaching by theory, I mean by theory is I'm only teaching you steps. Okay, A, B, C. And with that, I want you to memorize these steps and do these steps. But in the space of data, your problems don't show up like that. Your technical assessments do not show up like that. So if you're being taught like that, you are going to have a gap in your ability to apply what you think you've learned in a real environment. And that's where the gap comes in. And guiding someone in the space of data requires a real responsibility. Data is more than dashboards. Data is more than analysis. Data is responsibility. And in order for someone to naturally grasp the depth of that responsibility, you need experience. You need experience. This is why my practitioners have experience. Also, if you're not actively in the space, it's hard to prepare people for what they might face or have a higher expectation to face within the space of analytics. And this is also why people finish courses, but they don't know how to apply those skills in the real world, because it's two different things. And this is also why I coach my students to keep their skills sharp, because your job is not your job security. Your skills are your job security. If you are impacted by a layoff, restructuring, you're burnt out and want to find something new, or whatever the case is, and you want the ability to leave, your skills should be able to move with you. That's the job security. I started out in Excel over 13 years ago. Now I'm a senior data engineer and a tech founder. In between then, I have been a senior BA, a senior IT business systems analyst, a senior analytics engineer, a senior data analyst, a senior, that's all of them. But I've been able to go through my career very intentional, leveraging each of those skills that I learned from each of those roles right into the next one. And that did not happen by just happenstance. That was a very intentional move on my part to take responsibility and ownership of my career, because it's mine. Because in the space of data, it's not just about learning a tool, it's about taking skills that move with you. Bye, y'all. Hope this helps.